On tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite, you can expect to see Kenny Omega, one half of the AEW World Tag Team Champions, in action against Pentagon Jr. We also have Joey Janela and Kip Sabian battling it out for a place in the semi-finals of the TNT Championship, and also Lance Archer takes on Orange Cassidy, also in the TNT Championship. So we open up AEW Dynamite with JR, Excalibur and Tony Schiavone. Dynamite by No One Hero plays as Pirate bursts from the entranceway, and JR goes on to say, "Welcome ladies and gentlemen to AEW Dynamite. We are on the road to AEW All Out and we have one hell of a show for you tonight. What a crowd, gentlemen." Tony Schiavone, "That's exactly right, JR. We are AEW and it's good to be with you all once again. How about the main event tonight? One half of the AEW World Tag Team Champions, Kenny Omega, against one third of the Death Triangle, who have certainly made their presence known over the past few weeks here on Dynamite. Pentagon Jr. Should be a fantastic main event. Next Excalibur. And also the TNT Championship tournament continues for the second half of the quarterfinals. Joey Janela will finally get his hands on Kip Sabian after weeks of tension, and we will see the in-ring debut of the Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer. JR, Excalibur and Schiavone get cut off by Everybody Dies. So a decent segment, 54 rating, not much really, it's just the opening to Dynamite with JR, Excalibur and Tony Schiavone. That's probably the highest that we can get from those three opening up the show. So we move straight into the next segment, which is the match between Lance Archer and Orange Cassidy, part of the TNT Championship tournament, and of course it's Lance Archer that goes through. He defeats Orange Cassidy in 4 minutes 47 by pinfall after a devastating blackout. And you can just imagine, I mean, Orange Cassidy, would try and put up a bit of a fight, would try at least, but there we go. So Lance Archer advances through. We only get a 46 for this, wasn't expecting much, to be honest. Lance Archer getting a 59 in-ring performance, whereas Orange Cassidy with a 63. It's really good to see. We'll have to remember that. Orange Cassidy, I do want to try and get him involved more. Maybe a bit more of a linear story. We'll have to wait and see. But Lance Archer was penalised for a decrease in physical ability. That's disappointing to see. But apart from that, everything else was fine. The announced quality lifted the match. Colour commentary gave it a boost. So, as already mentioned, it is Lance Archer that goes through to the semi-finals. As we can see, Jeff Cobb, Pac already through, Lance Archer through. Who will join him? Moving into the next segment then, Chris Jericho's palatial estate can be seen with the gates closed. Then the sound of screeching tyres can be heard. A Ford F500 screams around the corner and slams straight through the gates, coming to a halt in front of the entrance. Jon Moxley steps out, slamming the driver's side door behind him. He goes to the back of his truck, opens the flatbed and pulls out a baseball bat. Jon Moxley, "Chris, where are you? You better have my title, you son of a bitch." And Jon Moxley goes to the front door and tries the handle. It's locked. Steps back and aims for the side of the house where there is a gate. He tries it, but again, locked. Steps back and has a look around. And then JR finishes this segment with, "We'll catch up with this situation a bit later this evening, folks, as it develops. Somehow, I think Mox might find a way in. Is there any way of stopping Jon Moxley when he is in this type of mood?" So we get a 74, fantastic rating for this segment. Jon Moxley was a real star in this segment. He was superb working without a script. He had the crowd in the palm of his hand the entire time, and the angle got the crowd hotter. I just love seeing ratings like this on segments that you put together, and we're playing off the fact that we saw Jericho in his jacuzzi last week, and Mox saying he's going to go find him, so he's actually gone to Jericho's palatial estate. What happens? You're going to have to stay tuned to find out, but 74 for that, I'm more than happy. So we move on to the next segment. It's an angle featuring Darby Allin in a dark warehouse surrounded by chain link fence, smoke swirling. A black figure is seen skating towards the camera. At one point, it doesn't look like he'll stop, but Darby Allin comes right up to it and says, You offered an open challenge, and I accepted. It only took you seconds to beat me, Matt Hardy, but I can and will haunt you for a lifetime. Just like yourself, I have inner demons. I consider myself half dead, half alive, and that's why I'll always keep getting back up. Just like yourself, Darby Allin will not die. How about you accept my challenge now and face me at All Out in a match with more familiar surroundings? Darby Allin turns and looks at a table placed up against one of the chain link fence and walks out of shot. So we're playing off the fact that Matt Hardy has quite the history with tables, and it was there leaning up against the fence, playing on the fact as well that Darby Allin is that enigma that they tend to go on about, especially JR on commentary. But Darby Allin, he benefit from having a groundswell of support. Again, decent segment for, it's probably the best segment rating that we could get for an up-and-comer like Darby Allin. And he was working on a script there. So that advances the storyline, and I'm sure it'll gain heat. So we move on to the next segment, and it's a bout between Nyla Rose and Big Swole, and it got a 22. The women's division, it's not the best at AEW, so it is something that I'm trying my best to work on. It was Nyla Rose that defeated Big Swole in just under 5 minutes through a camel clutch. The match wasn't received well. It was done to a hot crowd as well, so that just went right down, absolutely tanked. So we'll quickly move on to the next segment. After the match, Nyla Rose looks to beat down on Big Swole, grabbing her by the hair, but before she can continue, Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida run out from the back, slide into the ring and team up to attack the beast, Nyla Rose. They send her over the top rope to the outside. Hikaru Shida looks healthy as she stands tall alongside Chris Statlander and Big Swole. Nyla Rose is shouting as she makes her way up the ramp. "You'll all pay for this! I'll break you all!" You can just imagine her shouting as well. As she reaches the top, Dr. Britt Baker rushes out and proceeds to push Nyla off the stage onto the concrete floor below, landing feet first, so kind of cushioning her fall. I haven't put that in the text, but that's what I was aiming for. Britt Baker picks up the AEW Women's title that Nyla dropped, looks at it and raises it above her head, staring down both Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida in the ring. So we have 3 contenders for that title. Chris Statlander is getting better at her gimmick. Seems to almost every segment that we put her in, always seems as though that pops up. And as you can see, this segment did slightly better than Nyla Rose's match before. Moving into the next segment then, Evil Uno and Stu Grayson knock on a door and wait until they hear "Enter" from Brody Lee, who was sat at an office desk. "Please, Evil, Stu, take a seat. Thank you for coming by today after what happened last week." What did happen last week? That's rhetoric. I specifically asked you both to go to Dynamite and show what the Dark Order are about and how we can help better the lives of those who want it. You failed. That's your first strike. I want you both this week to join me on Dynamite and watch how it's done. Dismissed. Evil Uno and Stu Grayson both stand up and leave. So Brody Lee's performance was good for this segment, even though it got 49. A bit disappointed by that. I'm not sure what brought this segment down. There's not much negativity going on with the dirt sheet or anything. Let's just have a quick look. The low heat, maybe the low heat of the storyline, I'm not sure. It's a bit disappointing, but it is what it is, and it tells the story. So that confirms that tonight we will see the Exalted One, Brody Lee, in action. Should be good. Joining Lance Archer in the TNT Championship semi-final then will be Joey Janela, after he defeated Kip Sabian in 10:49 by pinfall with a moonsault foot stomp following botched interference by Penelope Ford. So casting our minds back to the first episode of Dark that I uploaded not so long ago, Penelope Ford interfered in Joey Janela's match, making him lose. And then Joey Janela on the other episode of Dark, the most recent episode, he interfered in Kip Sabian's match and he lost as well. So having Penelope Ford get involved with this one, and obviously with it being going against Kip Sabian and having Joey Janela go over him, I thought it just seemed right. So he will now advance through to the next round, and he will face Lance Archer in the semi-finals. Should be an interesting one, that, as everything is starting to come together. We move into the next segment. It's more from Jon Moxley. Thankfully for Jon Moxley, there are some bins nearby the side gate which he climbs onto, get over the top and onto the other side. He's in Jericho's palatial estate. He swaggers around to the spacious backyard with the huge lake in the distance. We see the jacuzzi in which Jericho was sat in last week and where Moxley's title was perched. Everywhere seems quiet, no one about. Moxley continues to walk around. He heads towards the back door, peeking inside. Quiet. He smirks and kicks the back door in, smashing glass, showing those rattlesnake tendencies. Jon Moxley steps inside of Chris Jericho's family home. Inner circle paraphernalia everywhere and crates of bubbly. Moxley looks at his baseball bat and proceeds to smash it all up. He goes crazy. There is a flat screen LED TV hanging on the wall. He walks over to it and swings the baseball bat into it, shattering it to pieces. Jon Moxley proceeds to say, "Come on, Chris. I know you're here. Come on." And JR says, "Again, ladies and gentlemen, we'll continue to follow this as it develops." It's not looking good for Jericho's home. So again, another fantastic segment rating. Not as good as the first one that we saw earlier in the show for Jon Moxley, but a 70 is still pretty decent. And this angle got the crowd hotter. We can see Moxley getting a bonus for being that amazing babyface, as we'll continue then into the next segment. And it's an angle featuring Cody. Cody is sat at a table with a cigar in hand. And he goes on to say, "All Elite Wrestling, All Out is just 1 week away. One of our biggest shows of the year. Last year it saw the first ever AEW World Champion crowned in Chris Jericho. Double or Nothing was the inception, but All Out was the elevation. It was the show that made history in this business." Cody takes a drag on his cigar, just playing off that promo that he put up not so long ago, talking about the TNT Championship in real life. Love that segment. And then he continues to say, "This year's event will be no different. It'll be a night of history making. A night in which I'm not involved. I realised the other day I don't have a match at All Out. Everyone is either already booked or too busy. It's almost as if I've become the guy I didn't want to become. The one that sits behind the curtain calling the shots." Cody takes another drag, then puts his cigar down. "I will be at All Out in some capacity. I haven't got this far to be turned away or turned off. I will keep fighting. I will fight at All Out." So, another fantastic segment rating. 84 for Cody. He's fantastic at doing promos. As we saw back on the first episode that I uploaded, he got, I think it was an 85, was it? 86 for that opener. But again, what else can you say about Cody? He's fantastic in front of the camera, fantastic on the microphone. Yeah. Moving into the next segment, it's Proud and Powerful. Santana and Ortiz of the Inner Circle taking on Private Party. It's a decent match. Private Party defeating Proud and Powerful in 11:53. When Isaiah Cassidy submitted Ortiz after interference from Nick Jackson. Now we saw Santana and Ortiz interfere in the Young Bucks' match against Private Party on that first episode that I uploaded. Now Nick Jackson is getting involved in this match. So Private Party on a bit of a high at the moment with these wins. 2 big wins as well against the likes of the Young Bucks and Proud and Powerful. Everyone performed really well in this match. Got a segment rating of 68, but we can see that the segment rating got a bonus for being done to a very hot crowd. That's because we had Moxley hyping things up. We had Cody as well with his segment. Everything just heading all in the right direction at the moment. After the match then, at the top of the rampway, Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson stand. Matt Jackson has a mic in hand. "Hey, Santana, Ortiz, Now that we're even, how about we settle this? How about the Young Bucks of the Elite against Proud and Powerful of the Inner Circle at All Out? Santana and Ortiz are shouting back saying, "You're on! See you at All Out!" They don't even need a mic to get their answer across. They're just shouting, "You're on!" They're going crazy, kicking the bottom ropes. They're beside themselves after what's just happened. Nick Jackson getting involved, seeing Santana and Ortiz picking up a loss against Private Party. Private Party absolutely loving it at the moment. They'll be off for to celebrate with some cranberry vodka maybe, I'm not too sure. Anyway, moving on to the next segment. It features Dustin Rhodes. Dustin stands staring at the camera with his face painted in a dark room. You sure do have a big mouth for someone that hasn't achieved anything in this business. For someone that hasn't been around for long. That hasn't travelled the miles up and down this country. Across continents like myself. That's the thing. You haven't been around for long, Maxwell. You have zero experience. You're just a little rich kid brat that doesn't know what hard times are. Those hard times, they moulded me, shaped me into who I am today. I've been there, done that. Whilst your mummy and daddy were in the shack thinking about having you, I was beating falls day in, day out, 365 days a year. How dare you? I accept your offer and will gladly put you down and put you back in your place where you belong at All Out. Dustin Rhodes walks off. So not the same level of segment rating that his brother Cody gets, but decent anyway. I'm happy with that. Segment rating got a bonus because the road agent was, of course, Dustin Rhodes. Has to be a road agent for his angles. So he accepts MJF's offer for a match at All Out. Moving into the next segment then, it's a match between Brody Lee and Colt Cabana, and it's of course Brody Lee that sets the example. He defeats Cabana in 10:48 after that running big boot. So devastating. Colt Boom Boom Cabana picking up L's left, right and centre here at the moment in AEW. We're just using him as the go-to guy to put talent over at the moment, it seems. But I mean, he's happy obviously to do that. He hasn't come to me being concerned, wanting to pick up a few wins, but might play into something a bit later on. We'll have to wait and see. But it got a 66 rating, that segment, that match. And after the match, we see an interview from earlier in the day, backstage between Alicia 2 and Sammy Guevara. And Alicia goes on to say, "Sammy, this past week on AEW Dark, you defeated Brandon Cutler, but you also injured yourself in the process. A grade 2 hamstring contusion. Sounds nasty and sounds as if you may be out for some time. Any words on that?" And Sammy goes on to reply, "You're new around here, right? Alicia, is it? Really nice to meet you. Hit me up. See you around." Sammy Guevara pulls his sunglasses down over his eyes and walks out the interview on his crutches and his leg wrapped up, leaving Alicia speechless. So typical Sammy Guevara with his hit me up shtick. And it got a 42 this segment rating, but I felt as though we had to just go over the fact that he's out of action now for the next 20 odd days with that injury, which he did sustain back on AEW Dark against Brandon Cutler. If you missed that, make sure you go back and check it out and let me know what you think. And we move in to the next segment. Jon Moxley heads upstairs where he heard something. "You up here, Chris?" The wail of police sirens can be heard. Jon Moxley sees a back window open, rushes over and sees Chris Jericho jumping down after scaling trellising attached to his house. Can just see Jericho doing this. He runs off with the AEW Championship around his waist towards his lake pier where there is a speedboat waiting. He hops on and races off. Police storm the house. Jon Moxley thought about climbing out of the window, but it was too late. They had the place surrounded. One police officer steps up to Mox and proceeds with his rights. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Moxley is put in handcuffs, taken downstairs, out through the front door, and placed into a waiting police car. Jim Ross: "Oh my God, Moxley has been arrested." This segment advances the AEW World Championship storyline. So Jericho gets away after escaping his palatial estate. He knows the ins and outs. He knew there was a speedboat waiting for him, and it was quite clear that he was expecting an invasion of his home from Jon Moxley, and already had the police on call. So what next for Jon Moxley? Got a 73 this one, so 3 perfect segments with Jon Moxley and also Chris Jericho. Really happy with that. We move in to the next one, and wow, it's the main event of the evening. It's between Kenny Omega, one half of the AEW World Tag Team Champions, against Pentagon Jr. And it's Omega that wins with a one-winged angel after 18 minutes 06. Kenny Omega with an in-ring performance of 86. Pentagon Jr. with a 67. What an insane match. Really happy with this. It got the crowd buzzing. I'm sure it was being played as well to a hot crowd. I wonder if it's there. Kenny Omega got a bonus for going all out. You can just imagine the type of match these two would have. We saw them in action back at All In last year. Or I should say the year before that, actually. But there we go. So Kenny Omega gets one over on 1/3 of the Death Triangle, Pentagon Jr. As we roll into the next segment after the match, as Kenny Omega is celebrating up on the middle rope, Pentagon Jr. slides back into the ring after rolling out, and he's joined by Rey Fenix, who has a steel chair. Fenix attacks Omega from behind with the chair shot to the back. Kenny Omega looks in pain and is flailing around the ring. He reaches out towards the entranceway, willing for Hangman Page to make the save, but there is no sign of him. Pentagon Jr. has placed the steel chair on the canvas. He picks Omega up, positions himself, hits Celo Mido, falls him into a package as Rey Fenix goes to the top turnbuckle. They hit Omega with a package pile driver foot stomp combination right onto the steel chair, laying Omega out. Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix together hold Kenny Omega's AEW World Tag Team title above their heads. They leave the ring and head up the rampway. Omega begins to stir. He crawls over and asks for a mic. And he says, we accept. Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page versus the Lucha Bros at AEW All Out for the AEW World Tag Team Champions. It's now been made official. Kenny Omega accepts the offer that was laid down last week on Dynamite. Another fantastic segment rating for this one, but Kenny Omega, well, where's his teammate? Where was Hangman Adam Page? Whew, what a show. So let's go ahead and finish. Let's see what the overall rating was. Whoa, 76. That's the highest we've got so far. The best show I've put on so far with AEW. And I think I'm going to put it all down to those segments, the home invasions of Jon Moxley and also Cody, and of course the main event between Kenny Omega and Pentagon Jr. Again, just letting us down at the moment is the women's division, something that we desperately need to work on. If we can get that right, then we'll be laughing all the way, really. But again, really happy. Such a strong end to the show, starting with that Home Invasion 2 all the way to the last segment. Just makes me more excited now to go ahead and produce the next episode for you guys watching. Hope you've all enjoyed. Let's go ahead and have a look at our TV ratings then. Let's see if we've beaten NXT. So NXT got a show rating of 74, so we've beaten them overall. They picked up a 1.59 TV rating, which saw them have a total of 1.1, almost 1.2 million viewers. So surely with us having the higher show rating, but only just, surely that means that we've beaten them this week. We beat them last week, which ties us at the moment. It's 1-1. Can we make it 2-1? Let's find out. Yes, we can. But only just. We get a TV rating of 1.76, a total of 1.3 viewers. Really happy with that. It's 2-1 then to AEW as we head into the fourth and final week before our next pay-per-view. My first pay-per-view on TEW 2020. That's it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you all very soon for the next one. Thanks for watching.